Why? 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 Why, oh god fucking why?
Hello, and welcome. Today I will be talking about the tower raid. I'm going to do my best to keep this short and as well as quick as possible, so let's get into it. So firstly, in order to be able to start off the tower raid, you need to be in the fisheye first. Who the fuck is honking outside my house? Anyway, you must complete the Lost Armory side quest in order to be able to do it, because the way you actually start the tower raid is by going to the survivor board that is located onto the certain safe houses and as well as on the fisheye. Basically where you do the survivor missions, that's where you'll be able to also start the tower raid. So, once you start the tower raid, you'll be able to start off from the ground floor and go build your way upwards. But before you go into the elevator and start progressing through the floors, one thing you will begin to notice is that this little room right here will be able to grant you free weapons, shotguns, pistols, rifles, and as well as an SMG, and as well as ammunition. So if you're struggling with ammunition or trying to get yourself a new gun, then you'll be able to get yourselves on there. But keep in mind these are much more weaker versions than what Jay normally provides you with, so keep that one in mind. So, once you go into the elevator, you will begin to notice that there will be modifiers that the game can sometimes offer you. These modifiers can either help you or work against you entirely. Example being, some of the modifiers will make your weapons deal significantly more damage on slashing weapons, on blunt weapons, or refilling your health when you complete a floor. Some of the modifiers will work against you. Example being reducing the amount of maximum health you have by 25%, or reducing your base damage by 0.5% per each enemy you kill, and so on and so on. And that's pretty much it. You're not always going to be getting modifiers, sometimes you will get them, sometimes you will never get them, so keep that one in mind. So, how does tower raid exactly work? Well, just basically imagine like Left 4 Dead. You're just practically going from point A to point B and work your way upwards. And with each floor you go up to, it will be significantly much more difficult. On the lower levels, you will mostly only face off against the virals and as well as biters. You're not really going to be facing that much as special infected, so you're practically going to be able to breeze through much more easily. But on the middle and higher levels, you will be able to face off against certain bosses. The only bosses I've been able to encounter so far are Revenants, Volatile Tyrants, Goons, and as well as Demolishers. Goons, you can sometimes face them with an elemental effect, so keep that one in mind as well. And you'll also sometimes have to kill a volatile nest in order to be able to progress through, because some of the bosses, as well as the volatile nest themselves, contain a key card that you need to get. And if you don't kill the special enemy that you need to kill, or the bosses as the game sometimes calls them, then you won't be able to progress through, because there will always be a door that is locked through via a key card. So you must kill the boss that the game has given you in order to be able to progress through. So, the final level of the tower raid is just essentially a holdout mission type. So, once you're on the highest level on the VNC tower, you will begin to notice on the left side that there's a large supply of equipment as well as ammunition. There are lots of arrows, crossbow bolts, high levels of explosives. Like, the explosives and as well as the other gadgets that they give you is high level. They're not like level 1 or level 2 that are like extremely weak, but the levels that they give out to you on these weapons or the equipments are extremely really good. And they give you hundreds of ammo. I'm talking literal thousands maybe. So, the way the finale exactly works is there is a GRE chest located in the middle of the rooftop, and once you start it, you have to defend the chest to open itself. That you have to protect it for a total of 5 minutes, and each minute that passes by there will be some sort of event happening. Example being, some spitters will come and spit at you at multiple areas, you will begin to fight off against goons with elemental effects, and so on and so on. And on certain occasions, armored zombies will come in and rush after you, and that's pretty much it. Once you successfully defended the chest, you will be able to open it and get yourself rewards. And what are the rewards exactly? Hundreds of materials. And I mean it. We're talking 400 scrap metals, 30 leather, 30 weights, 35 cleaning supplies, and other accessories, and as well as other materials, and as well as 8 batteries. The amount of materials you get is absolutely insane. So if you're struggling with materials in Dying Light 2, this is a perfect opportunity for you as well. And not only that, they will give you a free exotic weapon of any category. It can range from a one-handed axe, two-handed swords, and so on and so on. It's practically a free weapon that will give you with the highest rarity. So, is the tower raid any fun? Yes, it is actually, because even at nightmare difficulty and with the tank items I usually wear for the highest amount of protection, it is still somewhat difficult because the amount of zombies that they will actually send after you is really good. You're not like facing like 5-10 zombies per floor, you're facing hundreds of them. So that's my positives, is the fact that it can actually get genuinely intense if you even let them come close to you for a split second, because even with the highest amount of protection that you're able to get, they will still be able to shred you if you're not exactly careful, so be prepared for that one. But there are a lot of problems to this one. You're not really going to be facing a lot of special infected that much often. I know I've specifically said that there will be some double spawn, but it's not to the point where they will become extremely threatening. You will only fight off against like one volatile tyrant, mostly, one revenant, one goon, and one demolisher, and that's pretty much it. And fighting these enemies alone in a single digit, they're not really that much particularly threatening. If they send you like genuine volatiles to send after you, then yeah, it would get pretty challenging, but I have never faced off a single volatile throughout my whole entire footage of gameplay that I got. I've only faced off against volatile tyrants, and that's it. I've never faced off any other like volatiles. If they send you like a goon and as well as volatiles against you, then yeah, it would be really challenging and difficult, but like they don't send that much. It's only one single boss that will fight you. But keep in mind, this is still in beta and on phase 1. I will explain the other phases later, but let's talk about the tower raid itself. Another problem that I have is the fact that on the finale it is very easy to complete because the chest itself is really tanky. You can literally leave the chest for like 2 minutes and it will only sustain like 25% damage, and even if you let the zombies intentionally damage it, like they would do no damage to it. Like it's practically impossible to lose this one, even if there's like hundreds of them like hoarding onto it. And yeah, another problem I have is it's very exploitable. What do I mean by exploitable is the fact that there is no cooldown when you're using your accessories and as well as your consumables. You can practically spam UV bars and as well as UV flashlights in order to literally progress through anything. And there is no specific cooldown to it. No matter how much UV flares you throw, there will never be a cooldown effect, and you can practically just throw infinite amount of UV bars at the chest to be able to progress through. Another problem that I have is there isn't any parkour-oriented levels. I was sort of hoping that the tower raid would actually have some specific parkour floors that would test your skill and like be a little bit of fun gameplay essentially, but there isn't any whatsoever. The only time there really is some sort of parkour elements is when you're fighting against a revenant because of how high they jump, and that's pretty much it. There is no other parkour oriented levels whatsoever. So the short way to describe the negatives is the fact that there's not that much special infected, which they should increase the amount of numbers that they spawn. Secondly is the fact that it's really easily exploitable, and there really isn't any sort of like parkour oriented floors. And the rewards can be somewhat a little bit underwhelming because like I sort of wish we would get some new armor by now. Dying Light 2 is in a position where the entirety of the armor system needs to be either reworked or they need to be adding new whatsoever, because the current ones that we have right now are sort of good, but barely any of them is used. Tank is literally the best one you need to focus on, and that's pretty much it. Brawler is okay, mostly, but the medic and as well as the ranger is very mediocre, if not completely useless. So if they add like legendary or exotic armors that give you so much buffs, but as well as giving some sort of negative effects, that would be sort of good. Oh, my phone just went off, I apologize. But back to where I was saying. The changes I would add, or like some sort of features I would add, is where make it where completing the tower raid will give you legendary armor or some sort of exotic armor that has huge buffs but have some sort of negative side effects that when you wear it. Like say if you're wearing a exotic tank armor, you will have a huge amounts of resistances or some sort of other buff, but at the cost of having your movement speed to be reduced or having your stamina to recover much more slower, something like that. Secondly, what I would add is make it where volatiles are able to spawn in on the finale of the tower raid to make it more challenging, and as well as making the chest itself way more fragile. And another feature I would add is if you're able to defend the chest much more well, i.e. if you got the chance to be able to stay at 90% health, you would get more rewards. But if the chest is at 50% or lesser health, then you would get less rewards. It would reward them more better if they defended well. Another feature I would add is give a specific cooldown whenever you use an accessory or a consumable, like a 1-minute timer for UV bars, or like a 2-minute timer for regeneration boosters, and so on and so on. There needs to be some sort of downside to sort of prevent the tower raid itself from being spammable, because if you have like hundreds of UV bars in your pocket, why bother fight them when you can just spam them all over the place without having any sort of problems whatsoever? And that's pretty much it. So, when you complete the tower raid, are the rewards any sort of good? Well, yes they are, because each time you complete the tower raid, you get approximately 1,000 reputation points and as well as a lot of survivor tokens. These rewards are really good because normally you need approximately 1,000 reputation points to be able to level up Jay a single level, so you're able to actually constantly replay the tower raid in order to be able to level him up in a much more consistent raid. However, because Techland decided to add more rewards, if you're above 10 levels, it's going to require you to finish a tower raid at least twice to be able to level him up, because they recently added 5 new items for you to be able to get, but I will talk about that much more later on. But in short, tower raid is really good. It's actually pretty fun if you don't spam the thing like a little bitch that some people are. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If I had to give out an overall rating of the tower raid itself, it would definitely be a 7 out of 10. It does need some changes here and there, and it does definitely need some sort of tweaking and as well as certain reworks. But I'm kind of hoping that Techland does like add some sort of downsides for, you know, using equipments and whatnot, but regardless. Right now I will be talking about the new items that Jay is able to give out and as well as the multiple phases I have mentioned earlier. So let's get into it. Firstly, they have introduced us multiple weapons that we are able to get. Primarily, one-handed axe and as well as two-handed weapons. The Judgment Day is a one-handed axe, the Goliath is a long mace, and as well as a Reaper, which is a two-handed axe, but technically it's a scythe. So, what is exactly different between these and a normal weapon we're able to get? Well, they have a passive ability where they're able to charge your modifications that you apply on the weapons much more significantly faster. I.e., some of the modifications that require you to charge it by hitting enemies, or that passively charge on their own, will be significantly much more faster, meaning it requires lesser hits to charge it and as well as requires less time to be able to charge itself. I was not able to actually test this out myself because I'm very lazy. Another special items they have added is the Scorpio. Some of the players complained about not being able to get the Scorpio after the event of the anniversary, so I can understand why they decided to bring it back, so yeah, there it is. Another item they have also added is the Shock Knife. Despite dealing significantly low damage, the Shock Knife is actually pretty good because it is able to stun multiple enemies with a single throw, except for bigger enemies. I lost the footage and I'm kinda lazy to actually go back and get it, so you're gonna have to use your imagination with that one. And that's pretty much it. Oh, I forgot, they also added a new shotgun type called the Spitfire Shotgun. The difference between this and as well as the golden shotgun you're able to get is the fact that the Spitfire shotgun has more ammo in the magazine, and as well as it is able to shoot out fire instead of basic buckshots. And is it any good? I'm not really sure, I wasn't able to test it, but yeah, it deals less damage than the gold shotgun, but it has more ammo in the magazine, and as well as it shoots out fire. So yeah, make it that what you will. Okay, so Phase 1, which is just basically the current version of Tower Raid, is right now it only has 12 floors, 20 modifiers, and as well as 5 more levels for Jay to be able to level up. So, on Phase 2, which is going to be released on July 4th, we will be able to get 3 new floors, 10 new modifiers, and as well as 4 new rewards. And then we will be able to play the Tower Raid in Elite Mode difficulty. And on Phase 3, which is going to be on July 11th, 6 new modifiers will come up to the table, and as well as 3 new rewards. And then the RP rate for completing the Tower Raid will be doubled. Overall, I don't have anything else to say besides I'm actually proud of what Techland did. Even though this is only on open beta, this is actually a pretty good feature, even though it does genuinely need a lot of tweaks and as well as certain changes, But other than that, it's actually genuinely pretty good, and I am proud of what Techland has done so far. So now if you excuse me, gentlemen, I'm going to go and pour myself a nice cup of tea and as well as some radioactive food. So goodbye. I'll see you guys next time.